All right. Some of you are constantly complaining that I only read articles that are conservative. While it's true that I usually read articles that I'm interested in, and so, of course, would show my point of view, which makes sense because I'm the one reading it, I would like to demonstrate for you that I can read to you from anywhere and explain my position even when the article doesn't agree with me. Case in point, I'm about to read to you from CNN, who no one can argue is a conservative source. So please don't. But even CNN knows that wokeness is the biggest threat to Democrats in the 2022 election by Chris Cillizza. I'm Megan Fox, by the way, with pjmedia.com. I am a conservative columnist. You can find me on pjmedia.com every day, where I write all sorts of things that interest me. And today I'm going to be sharing with you this article that interests me from CNN. All right. As Democrats begin the uphill climb to hold their majorities in the House and Senate next November, politicians and party strategists are admitting that their biggest challenge comes from within. Woke liberals demanding adherence to policies on crime, the environment, and government spending that are simply not shared by a majority of the country. How do Democrats win in places like North Carolina, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Florida, Arizona, and Georgia? Asked former South Carolina Governor Jim Hodges, focusing on how lives have improved since January of 2021. I don't know what kind of improvement he has seen in any of the blue states, but as a person who lives in one, we haven't had any improvement since 2021. COVID rates are down and jobs are up. People are generally free to visit family and friends without restriction. Oh boy, we're generally free, guys. You're generally free to visit friends and family. Everybody celebrate. Don't you love it when politicians tell you when you're free to visit friends and family? I know I do. In goddamn America. Yep. The circus has left Washington, and Biden has already cleaned up the mess. Okay, Chris. The circus, I wouldn't define the circus the way he does. See? But whatever. I think pretty much Let's Go Brandon is a circus all to himself. Watching him mentally deteriorate in front of the country is not exactly my idea of the adults back in charge, but what do I know? I'm not sure why Democratic candidates would stray from that message, particularly in purple states. Hodges' comments are reflective of a broader acknowledgement and concern that talking about things like defunding the police or the Green New Deal or ending the detention of people coming across our southern border illegally are a recipe for political disaster in 2022 midterm elections. The current concern is perhaps best reflected in an essay by Kevin Drum, a former staffer from Washington Monthly magazine, noting that liberals have been aggressively stoking the culture wars in recent years. Drum writes, despite endless hopeful invocations but polls show that people like our positions, the truth is that the Democratic Party has been pulled far enough left that even lots of non-crazy people find us just plain scary. Something that Fox News takes vigorous advantage of. And this is me talking here, but if you have to differentiate the people in your party between the crazies and the not crazies, maybe there's a problem. I'm just saying. Moving on. From an electoral point of view, the story here is consistent. Democrats have stoked the culture wars by getting more extreme on social issues, and Republicans have used this to successfully cleave away a segment of both the non-college white vote and, more recently, the non-college non-white vote. While Drum has been beating the drum on this issue of late, it's actually James Carville who was the first to warn Democrats that focusing on very liberal policies and demanding that the general public pronounce support for those issues or run the risk of being labeled intolerant is political poison for the party. And I would like to just point out, too, and this is me talking, that James Carville is one of the old Democrats that I could totally and would totally have a beer with. I think he's probably absolutely hilarious, and I would love to argue with him. Moving on, wokeness, he said, is a problem and everyone knows it. It's hard to talk to anybody today, and I talk to lots of people in the Democratic Party who doesn't say this, but they don't want to say it out loud. Carville, who made his name helping to elect Bill Clinton president, said in an interview with Vox this spring. Asked why his party won't admit the wokeness problem, Carville responded bluntly, because they'll get clobbered or canceled. There's data to back up those concerns, too. An NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll conducted shortly after the 2018 midterm elections, a clear majority of people, 52%, said they were against the country becoming more politically correct and upset that there are too many things people can't say anymore. Just 36% said that they were in favor of the United States becoming more politically correct and like when people are being more sensitive in their comments about others. A May 2021 Pew poll showed that 57% of Americans believe that people today are too easily offended by what others say, while just 40% agreed that people should be careful what they say to avoid offending others. And even on specific issues, there's some sentiment that people believe the so-called woke mob has gone too far. In an Axios Ipsos poll from May, 70% of Americans opposed the defund the police movement, while just 27% supported it. A May Fox News poll showed that 47% of registered voters said the Biden administration is proposing too much of an increase in government spending, while 17% said not enough and 33% chose just about the right amount. Now, as Drum rightly notes, there are plenty of issues where the so-called woke policy has significant support. More than 6 in 10, 63%, for example, in a Marist NPR PBS NewsHour poll from 2019, said the country needs a Green New Deal to help address climate change. I'd like to see the sampling on that poll. I'd like to see how many people polled in that were Democrats versus Republicans, because generally when you see a number that high about something that far left, like the Green New Deal, that is literally going to make you keep your thermostat a certain temperature, like they're going to freeze you the fuck out to save whatever, the environment. I always think they've oversampled Democrats when they get numbers like that, because that doesn't, yeah, no. I don't think that 63% of the country thinks that we need the Green New Deal, but I digress. Moving forward. But as CNN polling and election and analytics editor Ariel Edwards-Levy rightly notes, most people don't really know what is in the actual Green New Deal. Okay, so there you go. People like me who do know what's in it know that 63% of people of this country cannot possibly want some blue-haired, unelected bureaucrat telling you what temperature to keep your thermostat at. Do you? Because that's literally what it is. And also telling you that you can't drive a car anymore. Like, you have to do ride sharing, or you have to you can't have a gas guzzling car. You got to get one of those electric things, which, by the way, if we ever have power failure or a grid problem, what are you going to do then? Ask people in Texas or California how that works out for them. Okay. Anywho, moving on. I've lost my place. I've lost my place looking for it. So the support for it is rightly read as general support for addressing climate change rather than backing any specific policies laid out in the Green New Deal. Then there's the political reality of all of this. Campaign politics tend to strip the nuance off issues, paring them back to the sort of lowest common denominator stuff that motivates people to vote, or in some cases not to vote. And it is on that front where the woke crowd truly endangers Democrats at the ballot box. Although the election is more than a year away, Republicans, led by former President Donald Trump, are already making it clear that they intend to make it a referendum, not as much on President Joe Biden and his policies, but rather on political correctness, wokeness, and cancel culture. And on an off note, by the way, CPAC, which all my coworkers were just at this week, their entire slogan this year was awake, not woke. So it is a big deal, and it is what the Republicans are seizing on because it is so upsetting to people. It has destroyed the lives of too many people, and people are sick of it. It's destroyed our television shows. That's how far it has gone, that it has destroyed our favorite franchise, and just like that. I mean, if you want to talk about a movement that's gone too far, when it's invading your television, your leisure watching, yeah, it's gone way too far. It needs to be rolled back up. All right, moving on. We stand up to political correctness and we reject the intolerance of left-wing cancel culture, Trump said in a speech over the weekend at the Conservative Political Action Conference in Dallas, CPAC. At another point in the address, he pledged, "We will stop left wing cancel culture. We will restore free speech and fair elections, and we will make America great again." It's very simple, very simple. And predictably, Republican leaders have followed Trump's lead. Following Major League Baseball's decision to move this year's All Star game out of Georgia after the state passed a restrictive voting bill, and again, a restrictive voting bill, that is the wrong language. It's not a restrictive voting bill. It's just absurd. Republicans are always trying to keep it so that Democrats can't cheat, and then Democrats, because they can't cheat, they tell you that you're being restrictive. Come on, you guys. Let's just everybody show an ID and everybody will be happy, and no more mailing in ballots unless, you do absentee ballot, which makes more sense. But I don't need to get into that. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy said this: "The movement in this country about wokeness has got to stop." Of the All-Star game decision, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell was even more blunt. From election law to environmentalism to radical social agendas to the Second Amendment, parts of the private sector keep dabbling in behaving like a woke parallel government. Amen. Corporations will invite serious consequences if they become a vehicle for far left mobs to hijack our country from outside the constitutional order. I agree with that. I don't think that Coca-Cola should not be giving me a morality lesson during the Super Bowl. Like, seriously, just fuck off, Coke. Like, I don't need you to tell me how to live my life. And I don't need Coke or any of these other stupid woke companies like General Mills and whatever. During June, we always make a big, huge we're always laughing hysterically at all the corporate hucksterism when they're all changing their logos to rainbows. Do you think they really care about LGBTQ plus whatever? No, they don't. They absolutely don't. It's so cynical. It's all about, this is the easy way to, fit in or whatever, be virtuous. It's all about making money. If they didn't make money doing it, they wouldn't do it. But, like, I don't need to be lectured to by, the guy I buy my light bulbs from, like the G&E or whatever. I don't need to be lectured to by companies I give my money to for a product. Like, just shut up and give me the product that I want. I don't need your morality lesson on top of it about trans kids. Like, what was that paint company? Oh my God, it was like, who was it? It was like Sherwin-Williams or someone. I don't wanna say the wrong thing, so it might not have been Sherwin-Williams, but some paint company had this stupid commercial of this little boy, like, dressed up like a girl running through the house, like, oh, it was an insurance company. And I thought paint because he was painting on the walls and stuff. And I mean, he's trashing his house. He's trashing his parents' house. And it's an insurance company ad, and he's just like throwing glitter all over the place. And like, if you were my kid, like, you'd get the strap for that. Like, you don't do that in my house. Kids painting on the walls, and this is supposed to be some kind of, like, I don't know, woke, enlightened commercial about letting kids be who they are while trashing your house, and then you think insurance is gonna pay for that? I don't think so, but whatever. Moving on. There's no secret then about the ground on which Republicans want to fight the coming election, and Democrats, worried about alienating their liberal left base, are playing right into the GOP's hands. If we learned anything from 2020, it was that growth with suburban voters, many former Republicans, carried Biden across the finish line, said Hodges, the former South Carolina governor. And these same voters will make the difference in competitive swing state elections. They want to hear how candidates will make their lives better. Stray from that message, and we risk Mitch McConnell becoming the majority leader again. All right. Well, so it's not just me and it's not just Republicans. Just so you know, those of you who like to criticize me for, being conservative, which is what I have always told you I am. And so I'm not sure why I'm being criticized for it. I didn't say that I was going to change my views. I said we could have conversations, you and I, even if you don't agree with me, and that I would have a rational discussion with you about why I don't agree with you. I said we could be friends. I didn't say you were going to talk me out of it. You can try, and I will calmly and rationally and good-naturedly rebut your attempts. However, I'm not going to change who I am and what I think simply because it offends you. Um, but we can still be friends. Like, my whole message here has always been, whatever you think, whatever you believe, bring it to me. I will absolutely look at it. I will absolutely talk about it. I will absolutely read it. If you want to send me a column that speaks to you and it's about your politics and it explains why you feel the way you do, I will read it and then I'll tell you why I disagree with it, if I disagree with it, or where I do agree with it. But to complain in my comment section about how you thought I was open-minded and you can just see that now I'm just a I can't remember what exactly it was this person said, but it was something like, "I thought you were open-minded, but I can see that you're just like every other Republican." A, that's false. I'm not like every other Republican. I'm much more libertarian than most Republicans. I left the Republican Party. I am no longer registered as a Republican. I have a deep disdain for both the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. I think I actually hate Republicans more because they should know better, but they don't. And they also are very spineless and they never do what we ask them to do. So I don't know what their point is. I don't know why they exist. Um, and so, no, I don't think I'm the same as every Republican. If you got to know me better, you would know that. If you stuck around to listen to what I have to say, maybe you would know that. And if you had questions or you had things that you wanted to bring to me and ask me, well, what about this? Here's how I feel. What about this issue? I will absolutely, I'll tell you. I'll be honest with you. I feel like I'm a very honest person and I come to my opinions honestly. And I have good reasons for why I feel this way. And I can express them all day long. When you start turning me off because you simply just don't agree with me, instead of saying, "Hey, well, I wonder what maybe I could maybe I could explain it in a different way. Maybe we could come to some kind of agreement," which I'm sure we probably could. Like, whatever it is that's bugging you, instead of just shutting me down, just tell me what it is. Tell me the thing that's bugging you. Don't just say you're like every other Republican, because that's not true. I'm an individual just like you. So you're not like every other leftist. You're not like every other Democrat, but I'm like every other Republican? Definitely not. I am very unique. I'm I am ask my family. I'm extremely unique. You've never met anyone like me before. And I'll surprise you, I'm sure, at some point. So if you do have differing political opinions, you're welcome here. I'm not the one who's not welcoming. I'm not the one who can't listen to criticism. I absolutely can. I listen to criticism every day. And like James Carville here, who I think I could totally hang out with because I think he's hilarious. I mean, come on. Drag a 20 through a trailer park and you'll pick up all these women that are accusing Bill Clinton. That was funny. It was very misogynistic and it was very offensive, but it was hilarious. This dude's funny. And I would, I can talk to anybody and we don't have to agree at the end of the day. That's okay. It's okay not to agree. But I think it is important to listen to one another. And if you have an article you want me to read, if you have a different opinion you want me to comment on, I'm happy to do that. Happy to do that. So stick around. Find out how I am different than other Republicans you think you know that you probably don't. Anyway, I'm Megan Fox. You can catch me on pjmedia.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video and have a great rest of your day.